Suppose the string I will split into characters like using a caret method. Like in string class, we have an inbuilt method to split the string into characters. So I will take that characters each character by character, and I will try to store it in array or array list. Suppose if I store in array list, what I will do is I will try to create a hash map object out of this array list. So while inserting into the hash map object, I will just try to check the key. If that key is already inserted in the hash map, I will try to give the value as 1. If it is not there, I will try to give it as 1. If it is already there, I will try to ignore it. I will try to ignore it because the same key is already present. So in this way, I can try to remove the duplicates from the string. So hash map, the feature is it works on based on key and value pairs. So for each key, I will check how many times the value is present. If it is the value is 1 for all the characters, in that way I will get the duplicate characters from the string for all the characters of the string.
Okay, got it.
And one
So,
more thing, hash set also we can use. Hash set while inserting itself, it will try to remove the duplicates because it works. Hash set feature is it does not store any duplicate.
okay. So, which version of Java you are using in your project?
Mostly we are using Java 7, but recently some of the features like Java 8 also we started using more.
Okay. So, what is stream?
String.
Yeah.
Yeah, string. It is one of the predefined class from Java API. It is a immutable class. Like once we create the string, we cannot change it content. Like whenever we try to change this content, a new object will be created and the old object will get destroyed. That means whatever the string that is created once, we cannot change it since it is immutable class. That immutable nature is coming because of uh, string constant pool. This is one of the uniqueness of the string class. Whenever we are creating any string object, first it will try to store in string constant pool, and next time whenever we are trying to create the same similar object, it will try to check it in the string constant pool. If the object is already available, it will try to assign the reference to it will try to assign the reference to the existing object, because in this process we are getting memory optimization. Instead of creating multiple objects, we can use the same object that is already present in the string. This is the main feature of string from Java API.
Okay. So, why string is immutable in Java?
Yeah, it is immutable because of the concept of string constant pool. Like and string constant pool, what is happening is whenever we are trying to create a string, suppose Hyderabad or Bangalore, it will try to create it and it will store in string constant pool. Next time, whenever we are again creating the same object according to some requirement, in order to not create a new string, it will try to assign the same reference in string concept. So that suppose 1 lakh objects, similar objects, if we want to create, instead of creating 1 lakh objects, we can try to hold the references 1 lakh references to the same string. It is for one. It is giving lot of memory optimization, like because our heap memory, everything is very valuable, right? So string is doing optimization using this immutability concept and the string concept standard.
Okay. Okay.
Yes.
So, what is different between interface and abstract class in Java 8?
Yeah. Abstract class and interface both are like abstractions to concrete classes that are present in Java. Like a concrete class contains all the method implementation, body implementation, whereas interface and abstract classes, most of the time their nature is to provide abstraction. Like the client will just know the method signatures only. Like inside code, he will not be visible. Like so they will just provide an abstraction over them. The difference between them is interface, like it is.
Yeah. Yes, yes, go ahead. Hello.
Hello, Aman.
Yeah, yeah. Your voice is breaking actually. Can you please
Yeah,
come
now
again?
can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Please go ahead.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. So until Java 1.7 version interface, it contains all the abstract methods are final variables which are declared which can become like final. But from Java version onwards, they introduce the concept of the static and default method, like static method, like where we can write method body inside them. Abstract class, whereas in abstract class we can contain both abstract method and non-abstract methods. It depends on whether we want to declare them in abstract class or not. Like so, and the abstract class we can create child classes from abstract class, but interface and also whatever the method that are defined inside the interface, that should be compulsory implemented in concrete class that we are going to implement using an interface. Um,
Okay, okay. So what is the Stream API in a Java 8?
yeah, Stream API, it is a new API that is introduced from Java 1.8 onwards, version onwards. Like this API is basically useful to process the number of objects present in the collection. Like it contains a lot of methods like terminal operations, intermediate operations, creation of stream objects. It basically uses a group of elements, like group of objects or group of elements from array or array list or any collection, and they will try to process them parallelly. There is a concept called map reduce operations. Like they will be doing map reduce operations basically. Like how in big data they will be doing map reduce operation. The same way, Stream API they will do map reduce operation using certain intermediate operations and terminal operations. This Stream API is very useful when we use Java into big data world. So this feature was lacking until 1.7 version. So they try to implement in 1.8 version using functional programming and the Stream API concept.
Okay, 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 got it. Uh, can you please tell me the difference between array list and linked list?
Yeah, array list basically it is a collection based on array. Inside that internally it is implemented using growable array. The array which is automatically growable in size after the fill factor. In array list we have the concept of fill factor. Like suppose if I have created the array list for 100 elements, after filling certain elements like 90 elements or 80 elements, automatically a new array list will be created, and the old elements will be copied to the new array list with bigger size. And it is basically based on array concept only. It will give index based access, and also here insertion is very easy here. Uh, Here insertion is easy, whereas linked list it is based on the internally it is created based on linked list, like based on single node and double node. Like for every element we need to create node and data part, and that is like a little complex. And also it does not give randomized access like index based access. It will not give. Suppose if you want to search any element that is present in the middle of the linked list, we need to traverse from starting of the linked list to the point where the exact element is found. So in this way, searching operation is little difficult and little consuming in linked list, whereas in array list we can get very easily searching operation. But insertion and deletion is very costlier in array list, whereas here it is very easy. We will search for the element where we want to insert or delete, and we'll just change the node and node that reference from previous element to the new element where we want to insert or delete. So in this insertion and deletion operation are little easier in linked list, but in array list it will.
Okay. So what is the difference between a hash map and the concurrent hash map? Hello. Hello.
Hello.
Yeah, yeah. So can you please tell me the difference between hash map and the concurrent hash map?
Yeah, yeah. Hashmap and concurrent hashmap basically hashmap works in a single threaded environment. It does not work in multi-threaded environment. multi-threaded environment. Suppose if we write any program, for example, the same program, the program to remove duplicate characters from a string, if I will write the program and I will try to create the hash map object, but it will work in only single thread environment. Suppose if I am creating like multiple threads and I try to each thread is trying to access the same hash map object, then it will try the data consistency problem will come. Like one thread will suppose multiple threads are operating simultaneously. The same hash map object will be modified by several threads simultaneously, and here there is a chance of data will be changing, like modifying, and the data inconsistency problem will come. To avoid this behavior, they have introduced concurrent hash map in 1.5 version, I think. In concurrent hash map, how it works is even in multi-thread environments also we can use hash map safely. Even multiple thread hacks also, like there is a synchronization among the multiple threads using the concepts of buckets. Like whenever like in concurrent hash map, it works based on buckets. That key value pairs will store into bucket using some algorithm. Amal.
Okay, okay, okay. So, do you know how the hash map work internally?
Yeah, hash map basically it works based on key value pairs. Like whenever we are trying to insert any key, it tries to check the hash code. Based on hash code, it will try to insert. Like, there are internal hash map is divided into buckets. Like whenever we are inserting any new key value, based on hash code, it will try to insert into particular bucket. And the same kind of suppose if a new object is we are trying to insert, that object also have the same key, then it tries to map to the same bucket only, like instead of going to some other bucket. So based on this concept, it will that put method and remove method of hash method based on hash code and equals method.
Okay. So, how you handle the exception in your project?
Yeah, exceptions like basically most of the things we used to get runtime exceptions. Like mostly we are working for banking side, like when we are handling transactions, like any loan transactions or any credit card transactions, any other like fixed deposit transaction, anything. So customized exceptions, like some inbuilt exceptions, we may handle using using like customer exception, like hello,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Good. Yes.
you can.
So you are saying that you are handling the exception.
Or whenever it is expired, loan expired exception or loan inactive exception or any other thing, that kind of customer exceptions we used to create according to our requirement. Like based on that, we will write whenever the particular data is not available, we will try to throw them, like we'll map it to particular method using RESTful API or SOAP API, and inside the method we'll try to throw them, like using throw keyword or any, or we will dedicate to some other method using throw keyword method.
Okay. So how to create the custom exception in Java?
Yeah, in custom exception, we can create using by extending the runtime exception class. Like suppose if I want to create if I want to create loan is inactive exception, I will try to create a class loan inactive exception, and I will try to extend that runtime exception class, and based on my requirement, I will write the constructors like customize the messages. I will give like this loan is inactive or loan is expired, something like that. I will give, and that instance I will write that instance of the customized class I will throw wherever in other module it is required, like some other module, loan module or some other module. If I use this kind of customized exception using throw new loan is an active exception, and inside brackets I will try to give some.
Oh, okay, okay. So do you know what is the propagation, exception propagation? Hello.
Hello,
Yeah, yeah. What is the propagation? Do you know the propagation
can
exception?
you
Yeah, propagation.
propagation
Yeah,
exception propagation?
yeah.
Yeah. Exception propagation means propagating the exception to the point where the particular exception is getting handled. Suppose I have created four methods. In that four methods, I'm trying to in the fourth method, like one method is calling internally other method, like first method is calling second method is calling third method, like that, and so on up to fourth method.
Okay.
Suppose any exception is occurring in the fourth method, I will try to delegate. If I don't want to handle in the fourth method, I want simply to propagate to like calling method, caller methods, like third method or second method or like that. I will try to just give throws keyword. Using throws keyword, I will delegate it to third method. From third method, if I want to delegate to second method, I will use simply throws keyword in the method signature of third method, like that, until JVM, like until main method. From main method also, if I don't want to handle, and directly if I want to handle it to JVM, I'll just give throws the particular exception name, so that from main method the exception will be propagated to JVM. Internally, JVM, what it will do is it will try to create the exception object by terminating the program. If the main, if in all the four methods there is no handling mechanism, and if the exception is propagated to main method, by 100% the program is going to be terminated with exception error, with exception message in the console.
Okay. Okay. So okay. So your which version of Spring you are using?
We are using 2. Version, 2.1 version, 2.1 or 2.2.
Okay. Okay. So how you integrate the database with your Spring application? Are you using Hibernate or GPA or JDBC?
We are using Hibernate. Earlier we were using JDBC, but now we are using JDBC, Hibernate, like to integrate Spring application. The data coming from Spring application will be using. We are using Hibernate to store the data into data.
Okay. So what is AutoWire in the Spring?
Yeah, auto wiring, it is like auto wiring and dependency injection. We need to, like, auto wiring is automatically giving the dependency to the place, to the application whenever it is being auto wired. Like suppose I have created some one bean, like from some other class. Suppose ABC class is there. That one I will annotate with at the rate of component. If I annotate with at the rate of component, the Spring and the bean will be created automatically by the Spring IOC container. And whenever, like, I'm using the same bin. If I want to use the same bin, some other module of the same application, I will just use a private ABC, and I will give it. And on top of that private ABC, I will give at the rate of AutoWrite, so that whenever AutoWrite is coming into the context, like Spring application context, it will give the required bin. It will give the required object, so that ABC object will use it according to our requirement. Like auto wiring, basically, it will give the bin from Spring IOC container when and where we require.
Okay. So if I having the same bean of the same type, so how you configure that in the Spring?
Okay.
Okay. So do you know when to use the at the rate qualifier annotation?
Actually, some voice is some, I don't know, like, can you come in?
Hello.
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Yeah. So do you know the qualifier annotation?
Yeah, yes, qualifier annotation. Yeah, basically, like, suppose I have created one interface in Spring, and for that I have created two classes, and the two classes I want to create beans, like using on top of these two classes, I will give other component and other component, but at the runtime, I want to select only one class based on my requirement. So since this interface is having multiple classes, if we don't use qualifier annotation, the Spring, the Spring in the application.
Please go ahead.
Yeah,
So
like other qualifier annotation, like whenever we have like multiple classes from the interface, and if we don't want, there is a conflict to decide which class we have to use, like the Spring IOC container will get conflict. But if we use other qualifier annotation, we can explicitly define which class we need to create bean, so that that conflict will be removed, and it will work at the, like, using other profile also, we can do the same kind of configuration.
okay. So have you used the Spring transaction?
Spring transaction. No, already didn't get that.
Okay. Okay. So, how you secure? You are saying that you said that you have consumed some REST APIs, right? So, what are the annotation you have using when you are consuming the REST APIs?
Yeah. You are telling, can you, one more time, can you come again? Like some little noise is coming.
Okay. So, when you are consuming the REST APIs, so what annotation
Yes.
you have used?
Yeah, while consuming REST API, we are using mostly like the particular at the rate of request mapping, and also at the rate of HTTP method, whether it is get method or post method, or based on that at the rate of get mapping, at the rate of put mapping, or based on our requirement will use, and at the rate of consumes also will use, and some other exception handling annotations also will use at the rate of response entity. Uh, and at the rate of handler mapping, like that we will do on more for consuming a RESTful web service.
Okay. Okay. So when you are consuming the REST APIs, how you accept the, suppose I'm sending the JSON or XML file, so which annotation you have used when you are consuming it?
Yeah, we have to both, mostly we have to use at the rate of consumes, in that we have to give one parameter application slash JSON or test slash HTML, or like my
Okay.
based on the my media type, we will be defining like application JSON we want or XML format we want. Based on that, we will be getting. So that will be like whoever is exposing the service, we will be getting the information from them. Based on that, we'll write to you.
Okay. So how you secure your REST APIs? Means are you using any security mechanism?
Yeah, we are using it, but I some of in our application we are using. Once upon a time we used to use basic authentication, but later we are using OAuth authentication, like OAuth, some algorithms we are using. Like we will secure the username and password using some encoding techniques. So based on that, we will be securing the web services. Like whenever we are hitting the server using any login credentials, so that and also any secured information is there, we will be trying to encrypt them into some format so that it will not be hacked by any other external third parties. So that in that way we are doing it.
Okay. Okay. So can you please tell me the difference between the path variable and request param annotation?
Yeah, path variable basically like whenever we are hitting the URI in the browser, like along with the URI, we will be passing some parameter to it. So, suppose ID number or name or something else, some object, any other object will use, and that whatever the variable we are passing with the URI, the same variable we will try to map to some method parameter, the method which is going to handle that URI. Inside that method parameter, we will be giving at the rate of path variable, and we'll give some name. Suppose if it is string, means string name we will give, or if it is integer, means we will give integer object. And at the rate of request parameter, like whenever, suppose from our application, from our backend code, if you want to send to like UI side, so based on the request parameter, we will be sending that data to UI side, so that they will consume data.
Okay. 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 So what are the HTTP methods that you have used?
Yeah, mostly we are using get method, post method, and put method. Rarely we are using. And other methods we never use that much. So basically, get, push, and post we are using. Get method we are using mostly to consume the data. So most of the times we will be asking them the data. So most of the methods we are using for get parameter only, like get method only. And some other places, whenever we want to send some details, like submit any data to server and all, we are using post method for creating the resource in the server. And put method sometimes we are using for updating the resource. Like whenever we want to modify some data, already submitted data, if we want to modify certain parameters in that resource, we are using put method. Amount.
Okay. Okay. Okay, so in the OAuth, you have said you have used the OAuth, right? So how you means you have implemented your own, or you are using any OAuth resource server?
Yeah, we are using external like already created one, but basically I didn't work that much on authentication channel. Like basic things, I know like what they are doing in the code. Like
Okay, okay, okay. So what design pattern you have used in project?
which one, Amal?
Design pattern. Do you know the design that?
Design pattern mostly like with respect to single thing, like sometimes singleton we are using prototype, and factory pattern we are using Amal. Factory pattern whenever we want to get the whenever you don't want to export the code, the how the objects are getting created in the backend. So if we don't want to export that code, we are using factory pattern. Singleton we are using whenever we want to have a single and universal object for the entire application. Like suppose. There will be chances like database connection or any other file resource for that side. Sometimes we are using singleton and prototype. With respect to Spring Framework, we are using prototype.
Okay. So you have the hands-on experience on microservice also, right?
No, like actually I started studying microservices like from some external courses. Like within my project I didn't use, but externally I'm integrating some cloud services, like integrating two microservices and try to exchange the data on my own amount.
Okay, okay. So, okay, so you worked on Hibernate also. So how you integrate Hibernate with the Spring?
Yeah, to integrate with Hibernate with Spring, we need to use like Spring with Hibernate, right? You're telling.
Yeah, Spring Boot and Hibernate.
Yeah, what we have like generally like in Spring Boot MVC application, if we take like there will be like data access layer, service layer will be there. Inside that service layer, what we'll do is we'll try to like business logic, like business layer will be depending on the database layer. Like whenever any database transaction is required, we will try to create the object for that database layer, and we'll try to auto write them like whenever we require. So Spring automatically create the bin for that object, and using that object, we'll try to create the session object like session. Using the session, we'll try to work with some methods like .serve method, .query method, .persist method. Like using the, we'll be storing the data or retrieving the data or updating the data.
Okay, and how you configure, like there are the few Spring annotations, right? So in the main class we have written. So do you know what are that annotations?
Uh, I didn't get the question. Can you come again? Can you elaborate one more time?
Yeah. So Spring Boot, we are using some annotations, right, to start the program. So do you know
Yeah,
the,
yeah, yes, I'm.
yeah, mandatory
Yeah, we are
language?
using. Yeah, we are using basically one main annotation Spring Boot application and enable auto configuration. Earlier, we were using enable auto configuration to register some classes, like to configure some classes into the Spring context. And but if we use Spring Boot application, it will do like multiple things parallelly. Like it will try to register, it will try to create the Spring context, Spring IOC container, and it will enable the a component scanning mechanism, and also it will try to register some auto configuration classes into the Spring context. So that Spring Boot application is one of the major annotation that we have to use for starting any Spring Boot application.
Okay. Okay. Suppose do you know why we are using the at that component scan notation in the Spring Boot?
Yeah, component, like suppose have we are creating multiple classes, and on each class, if we are configuring component, so what it will do is it will first scan the packages, like where this particular class is available. So it will try to scan all the packages, and it will try to create the bean into a Spring IOC container, like Spring context. and whenever those beans are required in some other module, so we can, so that the Spring whenever those dependencies are required in some other module, those dependencies will be automatically provided by the Spring container when and where required. Using other auto-wide annotation we can use, or using constructor injection or setter injection also we can get those dependencies from a Spring IOC container.
Suppose I haven't mentioned that annotation at that components can annotation, then what happens?
Yeah, in that case,
run or not?
in that case, the bean will not be compared, but there is one more option we have, like Java configuration. That in that approach, what we will do is we will be using other bean annotation. So if we using other bean annotation, we can send that object like into the Spring IOC container based on our requirement. Generally, most of the times people will use other Java configuration only, because we don't know like how the class is defined previously. So from external third parties and all, we have to use the Java configuration only. Then,
okay. So yeah, so you have used the Hibernate. So have you used the caches like second level caches in your project?
No, I'm not sure.
Okay. And do you know the difference between get method and load methods in the Hibernate?
Get method and load method.
Yeah.
With respect to session interface, or like?
Yeah, so in the Hibernate, you know, there is the mechanism like when we are fetching the data from the database, then we are using that two methods like get and load. So
yeah,
do
yes.
you know the difference between that method? Okay, so
I don't. I will try to read it.
okay, so have you called the store procedure in the Hibernate? Do you know how to call the store procedure, or how to write the queries in the Hibernate? How you are writing the queries?
Queries we can use like customized queries using the criteria API and native SQL. Like there is a concept of criteria API and native SQL. Like generally Hibernate, what it will do, it tries to create queries for us, but sometimes if we want to write our customized queries or any join queries or complex queries, we can use criteria API these interfaces under their child classes. Based on that, we can you can use those interfaces to write these customized queries.
Okay. So have you worked on database? You are writing queries or not?
Yes, I work on database.
So can you please write the query? Do you know how to fetch the second highest salary from the database?
Yeah, yes, we can write. Yeah, what it will like? I will try to use subquery. What it will like based on based on salary. I will try to first I will write one inner query. Selects employee name, comma employee salary from employee table. Order by employee salary and in descending order, so that I will get the first highest salary. Now what I will do is I will try to write the I will try to use this result in the outer subquery. The outer subquery, what I will do is select employee name, comma employee salary from employee table, where employee salary not in this inner query, order by salary descending order. Like outer query also I'm sorting in descending order. In inner query also I'm sorting in descending. I'm using extra condition of not in. If I use not in, the first highest salary will be removed, and it will give the first latest salary, like that the second highest salary amount.
Okay, fine.
And also,
So I have done from my side.